My brother.
Welcome to our TMBT radio show, the Milton Bell basketball show. And today, again, I'm blessed again to have one of my brothers, one of my true brothers, a gentleman that I've been knowing since I was 17 years old. We played basketball together at Georgetown University, and he did so many things to help me with my education. And so he's going to tune in today from Brooklyn, New York City, which he says is the Mecca of talent. And so I'm just blessed. I'm truly blessed to have Kayode Vann here today. Are you there with us, brother?
I am here in full effect.
Great. First of all, just want to say thank you, my brother, for taking the time. I'm sure you're busy in New York City, so much to do. You have so many great positive things going on right now. How is everything? Talk a little bit about yourself. Tell the people who you are and all of the great things that you're doing.
No doubt, Mel. I can always make time for my brother. You know, like you said, we met when we were just teenagers, just kids, man. You know, all fighting for the same thing, trying to play ball. You know, those were the days when basketball was heaven. Basketball was life, and that's what it was like in Brooklyn. Growing up in Brooklyn, basketball was life. Everybody who played basketball lived in Brooklyn. Basketball was what you wore on your chest, and it defined you. It defined you growing up. You know, there's a playground on every other block, and it was the world. It was the world. You know, growing up in Brooklyn, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood. We had a lot of urban professionals. We had doctors, lawyers, judges, journalists, electricians, engineers. We had the range of professionals, the range of talent. And the crazy thing about that, with all that professional talent, all the kids on the block wanted to play ball. Whether it was football, baseball, basketball. You know, a lot of our role models, you know, growing up in the golden age of basketball with Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Jordan, you know, we all wanted to be like that. We all wanted to play ball. And my dad, he grew up playing stickball. Stickball was his sport of choice, but he always loved basketball. He loved basketball to the point where he put up a hoop in our backyard. And you know, my hoop in the yard became the draw of the neighborhood. You know, all the kids would come to my backyard and we would play knockouts. We would play horse. We would play 2-on-2, 3-on-3, anything. You know, and you know, it was home court advantage for me, so I was killing everybody on the block.
Of course.
Killing everybody. And then my dad, I guess I was around 12 years old or so, you know, my dad was like, yo, Kai, you got to go to the park, you know, where the real ball players are. You know, you're outgrown this. And at first I was a little resistant to that because, you know, you don't want to leave your comfort zone.
Right.
And, you know, he forced me to move out the backyard. And he was like, yo, and we're going to go to the parks. We're going to go hopping, park to park. And play, and that's what we did. I followed my dad everywhere, you know, and that was key. That was key. You have to play with the neighborhood talent, the talent that's all around, in order to improve your game. That's first and foremost, and you have to dare to get out of your comfort zone. You know, if you ever become too comfortable at anything too long, you know you're not growing.
Right.
You know, so, you know, kind of like what you're doing, you constantly reinventing yourself. You know, I'm proud of you, Milton, you know, having your own radio show and working with the kids and doing a lot of positive things out there. So, you know, big ups to you, Milt.
Hey, I really appreciate it, brother. That says a lot, really means a lot coming from you. But I guess it's the way we were raised with my parents and our families and being around Coach Thompson. And so those things I think we share. We have that same love for humanity and people and positive energy. My experiences at Georgetown was so positive, and everyone was so positive. Looking back on it as an old man now.
Oh yeah, right.
And
For
it's what
real,
we tried
man.
to.
You know, like in the moment, you know, we were fighting to earn our way, earn our spot. You know, as we have perspective and look back, I had many epiphanies about what Coach was trying to tell us. The life lessons, even the way he approached the game. He approached the game like a student. You know, he gave us those stories of Bill Russell. One of the first things I remember Coach dividing the court symmetrically, dividing it in half. He had the managers. Do you remember he took a tape? They always took a tape from one end of the rim to the other, just to divide the court.
Of course I do. How could I forget?
Yes, of course you do.
Of course I do.
You know, just mathematically and strategically and understanding space and awareness and timing. You know, Coach had that down to a science, and it was a beautiful thing to experience. You know, it's invaluable. I mean, if when I look back at my Georgetown experience, Coach Thompson was my number one professor.
Right.
No doubt.
Right. Yes.
No doubt.
Yes.
You know, and the mathematic and the academic and the science behind basketball always appealed to me.
Right.
Because one of the things that I did going to Georgetown as a student athlete, I applied for I enrolled in the physics engineering program, and because there really wasn't a physics engineering program at Georgetown, they kind of had to do a makeshift program at American University.
Right.
And we had to take classes there. And as I was taking classes there, I was noticing one thing. And the one thing that I noticed is that the schedule conflicted with practice.
Yeah.
And at 18 years old, when I had to decide between practicing basketball, my love, or going to physics class, it was a no-brainer at 18 years old. I was like, basketball all the way. And I have no regrets.
Of course.
No regrets with that decision, you know, because one thing about life, when you have no regrets, the way you approach life is that you do things to the fullest, 110%, even more. That way you leave no room for doubt. You don't want to be one of those people like, you know, I should have practiced more. I wish I would have woke up earlier. None of that. I have none of that because I did it all.
Right.
And, you know, and that's one of the things that my dad installed with me. You know, my dad was a musician and a writer, and he installed in me a work ethic. You know, and I saw that growing up.
Right.
Yep.
One thing you touched on, and that I think is huge, and what I try and preach to my youth, to my basketball students, even to our pros, that we try to help continue their career, especially to my middle school guys, student athlete. And you use the word student athlete. That's a huge word. Of course, it's ingrained in our mind because it's what we were taught to become. And so while we got you on this subject, wanted you to talk a little bit more, to elaborate a little bit more on your definition, because I want the people to hear the definition of a Georgetown Hoya student athlete.
The definition of a student athlete is, first and foremost, having a profound respect for both worlds. You take your student life very seriously. You take your athletic life very seriously. And when you do, it goes hand in hand. Being a great student and being a great athlete go hand in hand. You have to have a respect for both of them. And not only that, you have to nurture an intelligence and work ethic for both worlds as well. And it's about discipline, about focus. It's about being when you're a student athlete, the great thing about being the word student is that a student it can be applied to all aspects. Whether you're in the classroom, outside the classroom, in the gym, outside the gym, what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, who you talk to, who you surround yourself with. That's being a student. Absorbing information, taking it in, taking some things out, being a student of life. And that was my Georgetown experience, is experiencing everything, everything about the campus, everything about the program.
Right. It's funny, man, because I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you. Of course, I've heard this story before. When we were young, you also shared with me, but I wanted you to go back also. I heard you mention that you had a hoop in your yard. And so you and I used to have the conversations. I also grew up with a hoop in my yard that my parents put up for me. Talk to me a little bit about how that hoop, we won't say saved your life, but it really helped you focus in on what you were trying to do, having that hoop so close to your home. Explain to the people a little bit about how it helped.
The hoop was tremendous in that it gave me a great activity to spend my time, and it allowed me to practice when I wanted to practice, whether it be a beautiful day or whether I had to shovel snow. It was there. It was the one. I could say it's the one activity constant that I had, and that hoop also allowed me to nurture different relationships with friends and with family. The hoop bonded me and my dad. I learned a lot of life lessons, in the backyard.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
That's so deep that you say that. And I always encourage my parents that if you can, it's a small investment, but it can really make a difference in a kid's life, having that hoop so close to where he sleeps and eats. And if he can go outside, or whether it be like myself, I had one in my backyard, and I also had the boys club, which was 1 block away. So you kind of have the best of both worlds,
Absolutely. And can I say one other thing?
Sure.
I'm glad that you encourage your parents to have that, because the thing about having a hoop in the backyard, I also have 2 sisters, and they also play basketball. One accelerated more than the other. My younger one, because she watched me, and I kind of was like her role model. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
And she ended up going to University of Iowa and then Fordham. But the one thing about having that hoop is that it allows you to understand, to some degree, the game of basketball, and you can always contribute no matter what level. Even my older sister, who didn't really play that much, she was on the team. She didn't take it where me and my sister did, but she had fun. She was on the team. It was always a productive activity for us.
Right, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Right. I also wanted to get you to elaborate a little more, because I remember you being always so focused on your education as well as basketball. And so, of course, is what we preach, academics and basketball. But I heard you speak of how you were able to go from Brooklyn, New York to Washington, D.C. And so you think about it, the older that we get, I'm sure that you've had a chance to think about it. That was a blessing, because you take all of the basketball players, all of the students in the huge city of New York, and you get this kid who gets a chance to go to a school like Georgetown, and he gets a chance to not only study, but to play basketball as well. Talk to me about the blessing that it is, and that I'm sure you realize, but that your father helped you realize, the blessing to come from a city like New York and to go to Georgetown to play basketball and to become a scholar. Talk a little bit about that for our young listeners.
Absolutely. I always took my studies very seriously. In fact, a lot of people don't know, I was choosing between, I got into academically to both schools of Georgetown and Duke. And of course, back then, both had great programs, academic and athletic programs, basketball programs. But the summer before, I should say, the month before Black Student Weekend at Georgetown University, I was able to play in front of Coach Thompson. And you remember these players. You remember Perry McDonald?
Of course. The legend.
Legend. John Turner.
Yeah, of course.
Dwayne Bryant.
Yeah.
Charles Smitty.
Yeah.
And so we played ball, and I really impressed Coach Thompson at that time. And he said that if I wanted to come to Georgetown, he had a spot for me. And at that time, choosing between Duke and Georgetown, it was a no-brainer. I mean, no-brainer. The Georgetown Hoyas, when I was a kid, growing up watching Patrick Ewing, the great Patrick Ewing, the way they handled themselves in the media, the way they handled themselves against the different injustice that they had to face, during games and inside the arena, and the way they always stood tall and proud. That was the school that I wanted to go to, and I knew that I would be able to get a great education, not only in the classroom, a top-notch education in the classroom, but I knew, meeting Coach Thompson and being under that program would be an invaluable, immeasurable education that I would be able to take with me for life. Like I said, Coach Thompson was a professor, and he's one of the greatest professors at Georgetown University. And I'm ever thankful for that experience, as I'm sure you are too.
Of course. And for our listeners that may be a little confused, we're talking about John Thompson Sr., the father of recent Georgetown coach John Thompson III. So we want to specify that we're talking about the big guy, Coach Thompson, who was our coach. And so both legends in their own right. But just for those, sometimes we have people that, you have some young people that actually don't remember back to our day. And so they reference more to a John Thompson III.
The third, right. John Thompson Jr. is the Hall of Famer.
Exactly. Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
He's the inventor of Hoya paranoia.
Of course. It's the only one. And so, hey, man, this is a great guy. You talk so much about the influence that Coach Thompson had on your life. I was able to, I follow you on social media, of course, and I saw where you had a chance to take a picture beside Coach's statue. And I wanted to get you to talk about, I'm sure that had to have been one of the most incredible moments to actually take a picture beside the man who taught you basketball, who taught you so much about life. Talk to me a little bit about that experience, just the statue itself. We'll go more into the school and how much it's changed, but just talk to me a little bit about the picture and the Thompson Center, and talk to me a little bit about that experience.
Oh, the Thompson Center is, I took it it was a family trip. I made sure that I took my daughters and my son, 2 daughters and 1 son. My oldest is 13, my youngest is 6, and the middle one is 11. But besides that point, I made sure that they got to experience the John Thompson Jr. experience. My wife as well. Being in that facility, being next to Coach Thompson's statue was inspiring. It brought back so many memories and stories that I was able to share with my family. The program the excellence. Ronnie Thompson met me downstairs. He gave me a little bit of the tour of the facility that only the players are allowed to go to. I saw the gym. I saw some of the guys practicing with Patrick Ewing's able to see him as well. And it just when you're in that building, you understand what greatness is about. That building is a reflection of the greatness of the program and the greatness of Coach Thompson. So it was a wonderful experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Also wanted to say that I also took my son up there 2 summers ago, and he was just here from Venezuela, and they were still building it, so it wasn't finished yet. 2 summers ago, yeah. But I told him that we'll be going back, and can't wait to get a chance to see it, and have heard and read so many great things about it. Really looking forward to checking more on the campus. The campus has grown so much. It's actually beautiful.
Yes.
Just to see it grow. Yes. And so kind of like you said, I had a chance to take my son around to the soccer field, and we walked over to the freshman dorms, and so it's really grown.
Just to add quickly to that story, after I took them to that John Thompson Jr. facility, I took them to Yates to kind of juxtapose the resources and the mindset of the athlete. You can either, and this is no knock against Yates. Yates is our field house for those who don't know. Is our field house for the regular student body.
Right.
But if you see in contrast, the athletic center and their dedication to greatness, and you see, people who just take it as a hobby, you're able to really see the difference of, what type of excellence you want to try for, if you want to become an athlete. Right. So that was very apparent to them.
Right. It was, and like you said, the campus is so big and so much going on. It's funny because when I had a chance to go back and show my son, it's different because there's so many things that you as a student, you get a chance to see, but as a basketball player, because you're concentrating and you're in the gym and training table and class, you really don't have a chance to enjoy the campus. So I think that as older guys, I'm sure you can attest that it was kind of cool going back and see stuff that you didn't even realize you were there because you were young and moving so fast.
That's so true, Milton. We lived such disciplined lives there.
Right.
It was like it was. You remember the T-shirt we had that we used to wear was strictly business?
Yes.
Remember that T-shirt, right?
Of course.
It was strictly business, and that was our approach.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was, and it's funny that you bring that up. I think whatever we were ranked at the time, that was a testament to our mindset, and of course to Coach Thompson and what he was doing. But the mindset that he had each and every player in and able to focus on 2 things, and that be your education and basketball. And so, like you said, those T-shirts and other things, I heard you mention the Hoya paranoia and that stuff, man. It's deep. It's very deep.
Yes.
It's very deep. Wanted you to talk a little bit about yourself and fatherhood and family and family as an adult today. How does that? Do you have kids? Have you?
Yes. Family is everything to me. My dad took his job. I don't know if I should call it a job, but he took his title as being a dad very seriously. And the family unit was always together till his dying day. So he instilled in me the same values of family first, and taking that job, that title very seriously, and how I raised my kids, giving them as much as of me that I can, whether it be my time, my network, my experiences, anything that I can give to my kids, I do in the name of their success and family. So that's very important to me.
Right.
Yes.
That's pretty deep what you're saying. Talk to me a little bit. Of course, like we said, we told the listeners that you and I have been knowing each other since we were 17 years old.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about fatherhood and how it's changed you, and how becoming, like you said, from becoming a boy in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York, to now growing up and having your own family and having your own business, and now you have people that you are teaching the positive ways of life. Talk about a little bit how that changes us old guys. For those that don't know, kids change you. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and just tie it all into your childhood and bring it on in to now.
Most definitely. Fatherhood is perspective renewing. Fatherhood is, when I say perspective renewing, it gives you a different perspective on life, mainly yours. I mean, you no longer are number one. You have a lot of number ones in the family. The wife and kids become number one. When a simple task of driving a car becomes different when you become a father, because you're no longer driving the car for yourself. You're driving it for the family, and the way you drive that car is different. Just like life, the way you navigate through life now is different. It's no longer self-absorbed. It's not all about you. It becomes about your children. So the way I see fatherhood, the way I see how my life has changed is now what I do, I know that I have eyes on me, but in a good way. So I have to be not only a provider of resources for them, but I also have to be a provider of being a symbol to them as well. And that's something that we all can't take lightly, because the youth is our future. And as generic as that may sound, it's true. I mean, we've heard it, growing up all the time. The older people would always say, "You are our future leader. You are our future leaders." And we look at them like, hell, us, But life goes on, Life goes on, and people resign from the positions. People, pass away, and you need to replace those positions. And it's not a callous way of looking at it. It's a fact of life. My life will always move forward, And the life that our kids are living now, they have a lot of different variables to navigate, more than we did when we were kids. But I take on that challenge, and we move forward with it, and it's been a blessing. A blessing.
Right. And you talk so much about family. I've always known you to be a family guy. And so it's, once again, want to say it's a blessing, brother, to have you here today, to be in contact with you.
It's a blessing. Thanks.
See you're doing so many great things in the world of today. And so I've always known you as a humble guy. You always were very humble, educated, and to me, the epitome of student athlete, but also the epitome of a positive energy guy. And so it's funny because I heard you speak of the way that you drive the car as a parent versus when you're a 17-year-old man driving back and forth to New York City. I remember I was going to Richmond, and I think you and your family were maybe going back to New York. And it's funny because when I have this same conversation with my own sons, and when I try to explain it to my students, it's funny because I equate it to me being, the example that I always use is when you're a single guy. Let's say I'm a single guy and no kids, no wife, and I'm thinking about crossing the street. Okay, and I'm the type of guy, you're the type of guy, we're athletes, man. We can very easily run in front the cars and easily get to the other side. But when you have people depending on you, you kind of rethink it and you just wait until the light changes, especially when you get to be older. And so it's very deep, and I thought that the example that you used was incredible. And it's I think we're saying the same thing. Also, we know you're such a humble guy, but we're so glad to have you here to talk about your invention as well. And so we know you don't talk a lot about yourself, but we really want you to go into great detail to kind of talk about what your business has evolved into with the invention that you have going on now.
Okay, more than happy to share that, because all praises to my dad who gave me the thought of being able to go after your ideas and achieve them, have goals, and the power of ownership. When I was a kid, I grew up watching my dad. Like I said, he was in the music business, in the music industry. He was a producer, and I used to go with him to a lot of business meetings where he would shop his music to different companies like RCA, and the big music companies. And I would see the way he would pitch his songs, and pitch his albums. And I, right from there, I understood the power of pitching and selling, and how you have to really understand your audience and understand what you're selling as your product. And you have to stand 110% behind your product and what you do, the conviction that you have. I saw that, and I saw the brilliance of him owning his songs. So he has copyrights to all his songs. He has a catalog of over 300 songs. And just understanding from that alone about ownership and owning your ideas is what pushed me to go after my own idea, and being able to work for myself, so to speak. So with that concept in my head that my dad planted in my head, I knew that ideas is not the unique thing, because everybody has ideas. You ask any random person in the street to give you an idea, they have ideas. Whether they're good or not, that's irrelevant. But the relevancy of having an idea and to seeing it into fruition is the unique thing, is the push, being able to persevere through the ups and downs of seeing your idea into to fruition. And I've had a long journey with my idea of the smoke shop, and it was over 10 years ago that I came up with the idea. It's a, as you know, Milton, it's a shooting training device, a shooting training aid. And the idea took me no longer than 15 minutes to come up with that idea. It was so simple for me to come up with the idea. All I said to myself was, what do I like best? I like basketball. What do I know? What am I expert at? So I know about basketball. Let me pursue an idea. Sat down for 15 minutes and I came up with it. And then more than 10 years later, I see it on the shelf. So the idea is the easy part. Seeing it to the market, or seeing an idea in front of your face, that's the challenge. That's the challenge. So I had a long journey of ups and downs, team building, working with different engineers. I had over 4 engineers, maybe five or six patent attorneys that I had to work with. The first one I had to fire. I had a good friend from Georgetown University help me with that, and another one I had to sue.
Wow.
He also helped me with that as well. So, in my journey, it was constant figuring things out, I didn't have anybody else that I could ask who had an idea and got a patent on. So I had to figure out a lot of things for myself. Thank goodness I had my wife to help me with that. But all those things that I've learned from my dad, from Georgetown, the Georgetown experience, was I learned to not to give up, to constantly push. And failure is okay. Success is okay. As long as you push to either end, whether it be the complete failure or complete success, either one is good for me, because then I know that I gave it my all and I have no regrets, which is what I said from the top of the show. No regrets. So that's part of the idea story.
Wow. I wanted you to repeat that. That was probably one of the deepest things that I've ever heard. That was just the ending part about the no regrets. That was very powerful.
Thanks, Mel. Like just because, like, you know, when you have regrets in life, then you worry about the past, and you can't live in the past. You know, regrets fall very short of having the energy and enthusiasm to move forward. When you can instead see regrets as learning opportunities, then you can move forward. You know, being at Georgetown University, seeing great players like you, seeing great players like Alonzo and Smitty and Dikembe, all those, and under the tutelage of Mike Riley, Coach Esherick, Coach Spriggs, you know, that was a opportunity to just absorb information.
Right.
It was an opportunity to learn. You know, no regrets. You know, that's the way I like to live my life.
That's a great way to be. It's what I preach as well. My wife and I often have the same conversation, and I say that I have no regrets. None. You can't look back. You want to do everything to the fullest. Is what I tell my basketball students that,
yes.
And I heard you say that in the beginning of the show. You want to go 100% all the time, because you don't want to look back and be our age now and have any regrets. So right. You want to go always Russell Westbrook style, as I call it. Russell plays the game hard all the time.
Yes.
And so Kobe, of course, LeBron, but you want to give your all at it.
Yeah. And Milt, you know, growing up, we used to see the old timers at the playground talking about, I wish I did this when I was your age. Yeah. I should have stayed in school.
Yeah.
If I won't be that guy.
Right.
No one wants to be that guy.
Correct.
You know?
I'm correct, brother. It's so, the energy that you talk with and the things that you say, I think it's knowledge that can be used, should be used. Want you to shout out your social media handles that you have, or your social media, whatever you have. Want to get you to just shout it out so that anyone that wants to get in contact with you, any young person that wants to check in and find out more about what you're doing with basketball and more of what you're doing in life to encourage young people, want you to shout that out to them now.
Absolutely. So on Instagram, my handle is Smart Shot Inventor. And on YouTube, you can also find me at Smart Shot Inventor as well, where I have an instructional video of the Smart Shot for all you athletes out there, all you basketball players who are looking to improve your shot or dedicated to your sport. The Smart Shot is the perfect training aid. It's not only the perfect training, it's the number one and only electronic shooting aid on the market. The great thing about it, it's a pick up and play. You don't need no smartphone to no connection, no pairing. You just pick up, you get a feedback of the Smart Shot to let you know when you have the proper mechanics to shoot the ball. all you guys idolizing all the top shooters out there like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, you know that the game has changed. Mil, you know the game has changed, man. It's all about shooting. It's all about hitting that 3-point shot. If you want to move forward with your game, you can look me up. Look up the instructional video on YouTube, and you can find out more tips and information on the Smart Shot, where it's being sold. It's on Amazon, Dick's Sporting Goods, and Models and Academy Sports. You can find it there. But if anytime you want to, if you have any questions about the product, you can reach me on Instagram and check out the videos and check out the website.
Perfect. And so also we will be posting the website and the information so that people that want to get in contact with you to find out, for the young people that need to improve their shot, here's a way to do it. And so that's what it's all about. Basketball is about getting better at a young age.
Yes. So, can I just add to something?
Sure.
I want to add that, yes, at a young age, that's where the muscle memory starts, and that's where that's where basketball players, if they develop their muscle memory early, especially when it comes to shooting correctly, it improves not only your accuracy and consistency, but it also improves your confidence. Right. I was working with a kid the other day, and I asked him, who do you shoot like most? And he told me Chris Middleton, the shooter from the Milwaukee Bucks.
Right, Milwaukee Bucks.
And I said, okay, really? So I asked him to shoot. He was like 12 years old, and he took a shot, and his release point was really low. And I said, you know what? Shooting like that, you will never be able to get your shot off. And I said, you can't even get your shot off of me. Right. And he challenged me. He didn't get one shot off, Milton. And that's because when you shoot incorrectly and when you shoot low, it takes you but so far.
Correct.
In order to get to the next level, you have to improve your shooting. So, the Smart Shot is there for you.
Right. That's incredible what you're doing for the youth. They have to be receptive, but it's there for them. And so
it's incredible.
Right. It's incredible. Now talk a little bit about your jump shot, because I always remember you having like this picture perfect jump shot. At a young age. So talk.
My jump shot was evolution. It was definitely a work in progress. Early on, I used to shoot like a lot of the young players used to shoot. Just try to get the energy, just to get the ball up to the rim. Mm-hmm. But as you get older, if you don't change your shot, you won't be able to play with advanced players.
Right.
And one of the things that you see all the great shooters, no matter what, you see all the great shooters have some sort of common denominator. Right. And that common denominator is their forearm is parallel to their center line. And if you're a real student of the game of basketball, you will see the mathematics of shooting. You will see the science of shooting. There are a lot of players out there that shoot incorrectly, and they can make the shot, but it took them a million times. Like I could shoot off my nose and perfect that. Right. But it will take me 1 million, 2 million reps to perfect that. Right. But if you shoot properly with the correct mechanics, you can get to that perfect end much quicker. And those are the successful shooters on any level. So, looking at players like you, Milt, I remember you shooting that corner three. That was your shot. Yeah. All net. Yeah. All day.
Great times, man. Great times. While we got you here, we also wanted to put out that you're going to be back for part 2 of this interview on TMBT Radio, back on the Milton Bell Show.
Yes.
With the video part of it also. And so you will also be teaching for those young listeners, for those that are trying to improve their shot, and before they can maybe just get a chance to talk to you, they'll have a chance to see what you're actually talking about. So we are in the plans now. It's in the plans to do part 2 of this interview with
I'm
the
looking
video
forward to that.
portion.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And also maybe to get you here to some of our AAU tournaments to actually show what's going on as well. So we'll try to see how we can get you at least seen on the video, but even maybe in the future, even getting you in front of some of our kids here to kind of teach them the correct way. Because like you said, from any position you play, you got to know how to shoot the basketball. That's 101.
Yeah.
That's basketball 101. While we got you here, couldn't let you go without asking something about Black History Month. This is one of our most important months that we have, the 28 days. And so wanted to get you to talk about Black history, who some of your idols are, who influenced you as a young man growing up in New York City, Brooklyn, New York City. As you and I were talking earlier, you referenced it being the Mecca of talent. Okay, and I wrote that down. I've heard so many people say that about Brooklyn, New York City. So,
yes, I mean, I was very fortunate to have that wealth of talent around me where my Black History Month was my block. And those role models that I had were tangible role models that I could reach out, I can touch, I can feel, I can have a conversation with. Those were my Black history. Black history was a present history for me. It was every day. So, I was very, very lucky as a young man to have that right in front of my face. One of the things that that I love talking about is I love talking about my dad. My dad was my number one role model in my life, and he exuded all the greatness of talent of what Brooklyn had to offer. An intellect, athlete, a musician, a philosopher, a chess player. My dad was one of the. If you look on YouTube or look online, he came up and we talk about Black History Month. He was the first person to come up with the concept of having a Black Santa Claus, and that in and of itself is just a powerful concept. When you see a Santa Claus who's defined as giving, paternal, cheery, happy, fun, everything that the youth love. If you see that image in the image of your father, a Black Santa Claus, that could do so much. So Black History Month is extremely important for our youth. When our youth know that we have people in our race that have contributed to the world, to the progress of this world, it says a lot about not only about our people, but it also says a lot about their sense of self and their aspirations, what they start to project and what they start to define for themselves as far as who they're going to be. If they don't know anything about Black history and they don't know about anything about Black professionals and Black success, it's going to be hard for them to succeed because the images that we have on TV are not that positive, and they're going to see those images and think that they're just doomed to fill out those images, those negative images that we see. So Black History Month is very important to me, and not only Black History Month, but Black history every day. So
it's so deep. I'm so deep what you're saying. Of course, we lived it as student athletes. You more so than myself. You're from a huge city, one of the, like you said, the Mecca of talent, and so it's so beautiful. Like you said, you hear so much art and music and so many things through the history. All of the artists, the Black artists, and the artists and the people, man. Just the Mecca is deep when you call it. It's also called the Mecca of basketball, but I also think it's called the Mecca of talent. Like you said, that's a great name for it, and the Mecca of positive energy. When I think of New York, I think of positive energy. Go back into it. I'm sure you've heard more so than myself talk about that positive energy going back for African Americans during the older times in New York City.
Positive energy is defined as enthusiasm. In order to have any sort of positive energy, you have to be enthusiastic about it. Enthusiasm, because we're pattern thinkers, enthusiasm is the necessary ingredient for learning. Because we're pattern thinkers, you can actually trick your mind into becoming excited about something. Your most boring subject, you can find something stimulated about it. And if you can't find something stimulating about it, you can fake it. And you'll trick your brain to actually create a pattern for learning. You'll secrete different hormones in your mind, in your body, and you develop a thirst and an aptitude for learning. So positive energy is necessary for growth, for success, and for learning. And if you're a student, and going back to being a student athlete, being a student of life, being a student is the key word. Is when you have the enthusiasm and energy to learn and move forward. So that's how I would define positive energy. And you can find positive energy anywhere. You can find it on a bookshelf. You can find it in the park. You can find it in your home. You can find it in the most mundane of tasks. As long as you're willing to put forth the enthusiasm, you can find it. And it's important for young people who may get a little disgusted with school to understand that you can find what you're looking for. You can tap into the human, your human behavior of pattern thought, and actually reprogram your brain. Just like muscle memory, just like the Smart Shot invention, you can reprogram your brain for anything. You can reprogram your brain for greatness. If you have the enthusiasm, desire to do so, it's there for your taking.
Priceless words. It's so deep what you're saying. The kids who have a chance, but people who have a chance to hear this, of course, they don't know you like I do, but those are heartfelt words.
Thanks.
Something when I hear you talk about what you do and your childhood and your upbringing, first word that comes to my mind is heartfelt. So once again, wanted to get you to shout out your social media handles for all of our listeners, those people that want to get in contact with you. Shout that out one more time for those people listening.
Yes, it's Smart Shot Inventor. You can find me there. Smart Shot Inventor, one word, as you know, Instagram users. And also you can find it on YouTube. The instructional video you have to put in the search bar is Spoiled Eating Smart Shot. And you can find all about what we're talking about today, what I'm talking about today with the Smart Shot shooting training aid.
Incredible. And so, my brother, like I said, just so proud of you. So important what you're doing, that you get your message out. And so I really want to say thank you again for coming on, for being the same guy. Haven't talked to you in a while, but we recently got back in contact just to talk about the show and what we're going to do. But I wanted people to just kind of get the essence of the person. Of course, you can go to these places, Models and these other places, and buy the invention, but I think it's important for people to understand who the inventor is.
Thank you, Mel.
And so I'm so blessed to have you here with us. He's actually in Brooklyn, New York right now. We're live on FaceTime, and so we have him here. Wanted to just give a shout out to all of our brothers from that Georgetown team. Like you said, you mentioned some heavy hitters, some true legends in my eyes of basketball, some true legends.
Yes, Antoine Stoudemire, Mike Sable, Dave Edwards. We said Johnny Jones.
Johnny
Ronnie
Jones
Thompson,
will be here on
all
Sunday.
of you guys.
Saturday, I think, yeah. So Johnny Jones will actually be live with us on this week coming up. He'll be with us live, same way, FaceTime. And so
beautiful.
It's just incredible for me to get a chance to talk to my brothers that doing so many positive things for youth and so many positive things in today's society. It's a blessing to have you here. And want our listeners to also stay tuned for the part 2 of this interview that we will be doing. We will also have the video portion of that going as well with the part 2. So I'm excited about that. Any parting words that you want to say for your listeners, for your people that are buying your product, for the young people that are getting a chance today to talk to you? Any parting words that you want to say?
Parting words, stay strong, stay positive, stay enthusiastic about your goals, and you can achieve anything. And as generic as that might sound, it is true. And Milton Bell is a living testament to that. I'm a living testament to that. You don't have to be defined by anyone. You define yourself. You keep on creating, reinventing, all of that. And stay good. Stay true.
Deep words, positive energy from Kayode Vann, my brother, New York City, Brooklyn, New York City. He's live with us on TMBT Radio, on the Milton Bell Basketball Show. And so we will be looking forward to having you back for part 2. We're going to end this part 1 now. Once again, thanks to all of our listeners for listening. And we'll be tuning in with Kayode part 2 with more film for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.